big block Chevy.
Until after I take out one of the main bearings and one of the connecting rod bearings. I've already measured the bore. This is a standard bore, 454. Like I said in my last video when I was talking about this engine, all I've been doing recently is just squirting some WD-40 gel stuff into the cylinders to keep them from getting any more moisture or rust in there. And it's been working pretty well. The stuff leaves a nice film on the engine. It'll be easy to clean off with some diesel fuel when I get to that point. But today, what I want to do is pull the oil pan back off of this thing, flip it upside down. I might take the pulley and the balancer off of this thing, and then I want to take off one of the main caps and one of the connecting rod caps and look at the bearings, because if a fella hooks his peeper on them, normally they'll say right on them STD, and it doesn't mean sexually transmitted disease, it means standard, which means that the crank has never been turned and that the main and rod bearings are factory. Now, realistically, I should take all of them off and check, but the likelihood is if one or two of them are good with a standard bore, then the rest of them are going to be good as well. So once I get those off and I can check and see if they're standard main and rod bearings, I can either order parts, or if they look perfect, I might just put them back in. I haven't decided yet. I kind of want to put new ones in because it's like another $150 or less for bearings and rings to do it while the engine's out, and then I'll have peace of mind knowing that I did them. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this. Yeah, not going to do a whole lot in this video, but I do want to check over this motor a little bit more. I got just a trash bag on the floor to kind of catch some of the stuff as it dumps out. But again, this WD-40 gel stuff, I mean, it really coats everything real good, and it makes it all slimy, and it doesn't drip off like standard WD-40 does. So it kind of keeps the engine nice for working on it. And I do want to get this thing started. I want to get started working on it, I should say, because I want to get this engine in. Might not get in this fall. We're almost at the end of August right now. We're August 20th today when I'm filming this, but it might not get in this fall. Although worst case, what I'll probably end up doing is parking my truck in the big side of my garage where I did the engine swap in my Bel Air, because over there the floor's a little bit better. Here the floor's all busted up. I can't use my engine hoist or anything over here. So if I park it over there and put a whole bunch of tractors in this side of the garage, I got a nice big flat floor to work on. A little bit easier to get the engine in and out of the truck. So let's see what we can get done tonight, and then we'll figure out where we go from here.
Grease on my hands, dirt in my veins, wrenches scattered like a war remains, steel hard busted, rust in its blood. Tear it down, rip it apart, find a fire, rebuild a spark. Pistons and ashes roar back to life. Ford 5 before, breathing through the night. Steel and thunder screaming might. Cracked old heads, bolts won't budge. Grimy block, dripping sludge. Sweat falls, mixed with the grime.
You know, the crazy thing about this, when I first got this motor home, no pun intended because it's out of a motor home, there was water in the oil pan, but all the water drained out first, obviously, because oil is less dense than water. Apologize for clearing my throat here, but I was a little bit concerned because you can see, you know, there's a little bit of just surface rust schmutz on a few areas of this thing. But now that I look at it again, the bottom end of this motor is like immaculate. I'm not so sure I want to even pull it apart. I mean, I'm always hesitant to pull apart a factory motor that supposedly was running good. You can see now it's a 4-bolt main. This is a Gen 5 big block, and they're not the most desirable because they don't have a fuel pump boss. but they can make some pretty decent power. Now, I do have to change the cam in this because there were a lobe or two on the cam that were very rusty, and I don't want to take a chance with a hydraulic flat tappet cam having rust on it. But looking at this thing again, I really don't think I want to take this thing apart and do bearings and rings. I may just retorque the caps and the main bolts while I have everything off and throw a new oil pump and a new pickup tube in it and run it. And realistically, I probably wouldn't even have to do that, but just for peace of mind, it's easier to change the oil pump while it's apart. So I don't know. Throw your thoughts in the comments. I mean, this thing looks pristine in the bottom now that I'm looking at it, and realistically, the little bit of scaly rust that was in the cylinders doesn't scare me so much to the point that I wouldn't just run it. It wasn't even thick enough to really seize the motor up. It broke right through it. And I actually sanded the loose rust off before I spun it over fully. This thing looks pretty dang good. Now, one other thing, this has an oil cooler on it. These two lines are for the oil cooler send and return, or return and send, whatever. This also had the spin-on oil filter from the factory. Somewhere online I read, and I know if it's on the internet it must be true, that if you take these two oil cooler lines off and plug them, you're supposed to take this filter boss out, and there's a check valve underneath it that you have to yank out. I'd like some confirmation of that. Some people said you don't have to do it. Some people said you do. But again, guys, looking at this thing now, I'm not so sure I want to pull this apart and do bearings and rings in it because it's pretty dang clean. And honestly, if I don't have to spend the extra 150, 200 bucks to do that, I'd be happier, because then I'll just buy the cam and timing set and the lifters and an oil pump and a new oil pan and slap this thing back together. I do have to clean the heads up a little bit. I'm going to pull the valves out, relap the valves, put in new valve stem seals, because that's just a given. But this thing is really clean. I'm not so sure I want to pull it apart. So what I'm going to do is put some more oil in this thing, let it sit upside down for a little bit, flip it right side up again, put the oil pan back on it so that I can keep any more moisture from getting in. I'm going to pull the timing cover off, pull the timing chain set out, because I'm pretty sure that has a plastic timing gear, and then I'm going to pull the cam out and just spray some lube down again inside the block to keep it from getting any more moisture on it. And then I'm going to start from there. I'm not going to change anything in the bottom end except the oil pump and the oil pickup tube. I do need to get a new oil pan because the dipstick tube on that one is a little bit messed up. And every time I've reused an oil pan from an engine that sat on the ground for any length of time, inadvertently I've had to pull the oil pan after it was in the vehicle. So trying to learn from past mistakes, I did that a little bit at a time. I'm still trying to sell off parts that I had. I was trying to sell one or both of these 305s. Guy that I work with has, his son has a boat with a 305 in it that needs a motor. So I was trying to sell him one of these. I'm not sure if he's going to buy one. Also trying to sell the 4L80E that came on this motor. I think I have a guy lined up that wants to buy that, but time will tell on that as well. So trying to use my parts to fund the project rather than going bankrupt. Still have that 350 4-bolt main block that I got from my uncle a couple of years ago. I've been trying to sell that thing for months. Apparently nobody wants a 30 overbore 4-bolt main high nickel block from a 1970 Corvette with a forged steel crank and good steel GM connecting rods, but it is what it is. You can buy blueprint engines really cheap now, so it seems like not as many people want to do the little hot rodding mods that we used to do back in the day, and I'm kind of old school, so maybe I'll just hang on to that block. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to go try to finish putting a few more things together on this. Like I said, pull the timing set and stuff off, and then I'll finish this video up. Might be a little bit boring, but I'm trying to keep up on progress for the truck. I've been driving the piss out of that thing the last couple of weeks. I think I probably put almost 500 miles on it in the last 3 weeks. I've been driving it back and forth to work, which is 70 miles round trip. Having a ton of fun with that. Let's get this cleaned up a little bit, put the oil pan back on it, and then flip it over and take the timing set and stuff off. And then I'll finish out the video for the night.
Tear it down, rip it apart. Find a fire, rebuild a spark. Pistons and ashes roar back to life. Ford fast before breathing through the night. Steel and thunder screaming might.
you're probably not going to be able to see this very well, but you can see the sheen on the inside of this timing chain cover. This looks like it's brand new paint. I mean, now that I again see the inside of this motor, it definitely is a 77,000 mile motor. It was pretty well kept, except for the moisture that it got in at the end of its life. This is a factory GM plastic timing gear set. Hate these things. I really still don't know why GM used them. Probably because they were cheap and they proved that they'll last over 100,000 miles, but they're really crap. They really are. So and I probably could have run this, but again, the ramps on some of these lobes are rusty, and I don't want to take a chance ruining it. I can pull the numbers off of this thing and see if I can figure out what the actual cam profile is, but like I said, it was around a 425 lift, and this actually does have the oil pump cam on the camshaft, or the oil pump lobe. So the good thing is, you know, this could have been used in a Gen 4 or a Gen 6 block, but I'm not going to chance running it in my motor. Again, there's a handful of lobes on this that definitely have surface rust on them, so it's not worth it. Flat tappet camshafts tend to fail when they get really nasty, or if they weren't taken care of. Again, despite the fact that this one had a little bit of schmutz on it, the motor's really not that bad inside, so I'm going to reuse everything on the bottom end. I'm just going to put the timing cover back on this for now, bag it back up so I can keep everything nice and clean, and then probably call it a night because it's getting dark and it's really tough to see. I don't have power in my garage, so for me to run lights in here, I have to run a generator, and I blew my generator up. I think the valve train went bad in it. I can't even pull it over anymore. I do have another generator that I can run on one of my small Sears tractors, but I haven't hooked it up yet. So let me go ahead and button this thing back up and finish up for tonight.